The two witnesses establish one truth. Grace and peace, everybody. This is Sabbath School Study Group 5 parts. This is the 5th part of our 5-part series, Two Witnesses. We didn't really go deep into what the two witnesses actually are, but we're going to finish it up talking about that right now. But before we do that, I want to thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you pass this video on to someone else. Leave a like. And not just leaving a like so other folks can find the video, drop a comment in the comment box. Is there a question? Is there something that you have an idea about? Even where we can go in this study, or just sharing a thought to encourage others. Please, we appreciate it. And then visit us online, changeministry.org. Check out the Revelation study. You can go verse by verse through the entire book of Revelation. Good stuff that will give us great hope. Revelation chapter 11, that's where we were for most of this series. And we're going to revisit it to, again, look at the two witnesses. We find them here in chapter 11, verses 3 to 4, where he says, I will give power. God says, I will give power unto my two witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. These are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. Two witnesses. Why is that important? It's important because it shows how even during this time, the Lord was promising that he was going to give us two testaments. We call them the Old and the New Testament, but you could actually refer to them as a first or a latter, or a first or a second testament, because it's not old in the sense that it doesn't matter anymore. It's just old in the sense that it came before the other one. But even though one came before and one came after the other, they both agree. They both build a connective tissue for our faith, so that we're not believing in myths, but we actually have a message. And the message of the gospel that is prophesied in the Old Testament, that prophesying or that promise is fulfilled in the New Testament. And this is how they both intertwine and they both connect together. Now, we see them connecting in Zechariah, used not so much as just these two witnesses, but they're literally described here in verses 1 through 3, where the prophet says, and the angel that talked with me came again and waked me as a man that is wakened out of his sleep, and said unto me, what seest thou? And Zechariah says, I have looked, and behold, a candlestick all of gold, with a bowl upon the top of it, and 7 lamps thereon. And then there's 7 pipes to the 7 lamps, which are upon the top thereof. So connected now to this candlestick, it says it's powered by 2 olive trees. 2 olive trees by it, one upon the right side of the bowl, and the other upon the left side thereof. So the imagery now is of these candlesticks being powered or sourced with an oil from these 2 olive trees. So in Zechariah, you've got 2 olive trees. And then in Revelation, you've got 2 witnesses, all funneling in to give light to the prophet, light to the people. This is Zechariah's revelation. John has another revelation, but they're one and the same. 2 witnesses, which is really interesting. The whole idea of the 2 witnesses, you've got Zechariah's testimony, then you've got John's testimony, and they both agree. Why is this a big deal? It's a big deal because God is consistent. The truth of the Bible, or the validity of the scriptures, you see it testified by 2 historical figures. Not only that, they're separated by many years. Zechariah to the time of John. One in the BC, one in the AD, but they're saying the same thing. This agreement is important in a legal standpoint because God established a biblical principle in justice and truth. And we find it there in Deuteronomy chapter 19. Because he says in verse 15, one witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity or for any sin in any sin that he sinneth. In other words, what are we talking about? Just in case we don't understand legal jargon, here is the plain truth. At the mouth of 2 witnesses, or at the mouth of 3 witnesses, shall the matter be established. In other words, one of the messages that God gives us when he was trying to teach justice, not just mercy, but justice to his people, that if someone does something wrong, that wrong has to have a testimony. There has to be someone to serve as a witness to it, but not just one, but at least 2 witnesses to verify that that's what happened. We do that today. In our legal system, wherever you're watching this, I'm pretty sure that the law is skewed towards an abundance of evidence rather than trying to eliminate evidence. Evidence is what gives us greater confidence of a truth. And the same thing happens with the truth. And Hebrews tells us that we're to use these cloud of witnesses almost as if like a cheering crowd, like a stadium of witnesses that help us to see that if she made it, if he made it, if they made it, I can make it too. But how? What did he read? What did she read? What did they believe? And that's where we can use their witness to strengthen our own. That's why it's best to belong to a body. It's one thing to be a finger on your own. It's another thing to be a pinky toe on your own. But the body of Christ, this collective of believers, we are able to lean on Jesus and stand on Jesus 10 toes down so that our witness edifies another, encourages another, and emboldens another. So let's be Christians out loud. Let's love out loud. Let's be believing to the point that others can see it. Because our witness could be that one or two that brings in the truth.